For thousands of years, mankind thought we controlled gemstones. We mined them, cut them, wore them, worshiped them. But there exists another kind of stone. Stones that do not simply shine, they whisper. Stones that do not simply dazzle, they devour. 10 gemstones, 10 ancient forces. Each one is a prison, holding something the earth was never meant to release. Greed, rage, madness, disease, bloodlust. They are not treasures. They are temptations, carved into crystal. And for those who seek them, the price is never just gold. The Forbidden 10, demon stones of the earth. Coming soon. Once you see them, you'll never see gemstones the same way again. Our descent begins, not with death, not with fire, but with temptation. At the very first level of darkness lies the oldest human weakness, greed. And deep in the jungles of Central Africa, beneath rivers of copper and the whispers of miners, nature has trapped that greed inside a swirling green coil. This is where it starts. Top 10, Serpent Malachite, the venom of greed. Our journey takes us deep into the steaming jungles of Central Africa, where an ancient green stone coils beneath the earth like a frozen serpent. Not a glimmer, not a sparkle, just hypnotic, endless waves of green, spinning, breathing, alive. You won't believe what shapes its perfect coils. What happens when greed stares too long into its swirling depths? We'll show you in 60 seconds. In the copper-soaked soils of the Congo Basin, miners stumble upon something unlike any other green gem. Not sharp like emerald, not milky like jade. What they find is serpent malachite, a stone that seems to spin inside itself, its bands curling inward like the body of a coiled snake preparing to strike. Malachite has always been tied to copper. As rainwater seeps through copper-rich rock, chemical reactions over tens of thousands of years form layer upon layer of vibrant green carbonate. Most malachite grows in random swirling blobs, but serpent malachite demands something rarer: complete stillness, perfect mineral flows, absolute patience from the earth. The result is breathtaking. Endless concentric rings of green, each band circling tighter than the last, like ancient growth rings recording not the years of a tree, but the breath of the planet itself. Legends say the stone hums underground, that it whispers. Some miners won't enter certain shafts where these veins run, afraid of what they call the snake's chambers. Its history slithers back into antiquity. Egyptian priests carved malachite amulets to ward off evil. In medieval Europe, it was said to protect children from nightmares. Russian czars fell under its spell centuries later, filling entire palace halls with enormous malachite columns and fireplaces that still gleam with their hypnotic green today. Modern gem-quality serpent malachite still comes almost entirely from the Congo, pulled from narrow shafts carved by hand, where every swing of the pickaxe risks collapse. The best specimens feature tight, flawless coils, so precise that jewelers and collectors often mistake them for being man-made. When polished, the stone reveals its true hypnotic power. Massive cabochon rings with swirling eyes staring back at the wearer, bold necklaces where entire panels of green seem to ripple under light, rare museum slabs, worth tens of thousands, destined for private collections. But behind the beauty lies fragility. With a Mohs hardness barely reaching 3.5, malachite scratches easily. Heat, acids, even sweat can damage its polish. Many high-end pieces require special resins to stabilize their surface. On the market, serpent malachite occupies its own strange corner of luxury. Fine cabochons may fetch $100, $500 a piece. Museum-quality slabs can exceed $2,000. One-of-a-kind designer jewelry, often commissioned by European houses, can reach $20,000 or more. But perhaps its most dangerous price. Top 9. Frozen Aquamarine, the Lake of Despair. Our next step takes us far north, into the icy veins of Madagascar and the frozen cliffs of Pakistan, where a cold blue stone sleeps beneath layers of ancient rock. Not glittering, not sparkling, but glowing with a quiet, frozen stillness. You won't believe what freezes its color in time. What happens when you hold its icy glow against your skin? We'll show you in 60 seconds. In the high-altitude mines of the Karakoram Mountains, where thin air burns your lungs and the cold cuts to the bone, miners extract a gemstone that feels as if it holds winter itself inside its core, frozen aquamarine. Unlike its brighter cousins, the tropical, ocean blue aquamarine sought after for centuries, frozen aquamarine glows with a muted, haunting blue. The color sits somewhere between glacier ice and a distant storm cloud, with a milky translucence that seems to suspend light inside like fog trapped under glass. Aquamarine belongs to the beryl family, like emerald and morganite. Its color comes from trace amounts of iron, small variations that create everything from sky blue to deep teal. But frozen aquamarine owes its pale, chilling tone to the rare presence of microscopic inclusions, tiny liquid-filled fractures formed under immense pressure, locking in ancient fluids from millions of years ago. It's these trapped elements that create its eerie glacial glow. To hold one is to hold a piece of frozen time. The legends are even colder. Ancient Himalayan traders once believed these stones held the tears of frozen gods, shed during battles with mountain spirits. In Madagascar, shamans speak of the sleeping water, warning that staring too long into its center could steal one's emotions, leaving only silence behind. Unlike the vibrant jewelry store aquamarine seen in mall windows, frozen aquamarine is rarer, harder to cut, and demands absolute precision from gem cutters. The finest pieces are often carved into minimalist rings where the pale blue glows softly against platinum. Glacier-inspired pendants floating like trapped ice beneath glass settings. Museum crystals, left uncut, standing like frozen lakes trapped inside stone. But as breathtaking as it is, frozen aquamarine is fragile. Its internal fractures make it susceptible to sudden cracks if heated or struck. Even ultrasonic cleaning, a standard tool for most gems, can shatter it instantly. On the open market, prices vary widely. Mid-grade stones, $50 to $200 per carat. Fine gem quality frozen aquamarine, $300 to $1,000 per carat. Collector's crystals, $5,000 and beyond for flawless, untouched specimens. Luxury houses like Boucheron and Chopard have quietly begun experimenting with frozen aquamarine, pairing its subtle ice with diamonds to create pieces that feel less like jewelry and more like captured winter. But its greatest power remains in its mood. This is not a stone of warmth or fire. It's a stone of stillness, of distance, of control. Frozen aquamarine doesn't seduce, it numbs. Despair breeds something darker. Rage. When the cold no longer suffices, when the emptiness demands action, anger takes form. And in the scorched earth of Mozambique and India, one stone pulses like molten blood, forever trapped in a crystal heartbeat. This is where fury lives. Top 8th Crimson Garnet, the heart of wrath. Our journey now turns to fire, to the ancient mountain ranges of Mozambique and India, where deep beneath scorched rock lies a gemstone that doesn't glow, it burns. Not a shimmer, not a flicker, just a steady pulse of molten red, like embers locked inside stone. You won't believe what fuels its fire. What happens when anger takes solid form? We'll show you in 60 seconds. Long before rubies dominated royal crowns, and centuries before diamonds stole the headlines, garnet was the true stone of blood, war, and passion. But hidden within the world of garnet is its most dangerous form, crimson garnet, the heart of wrath. Unlike the bright, candy-red garnets sold in tourist shops, crimson garnet radiates a deeper, more ominous tone, somewhere between arterial blood and glowing magma. Hold it to the light and you'll see a richness that feels almost liquid, as though the stone itself were pulsing with a heartbeat trapped inside. Garnets are not a single mineral, but a family of silicates, each colored by different trace elements: iron, magnesium, manganese. But crimson garnet owes its dark, haunting glow to a near-perfect balance of iron and chromium, forged under intense heat and pressure for millions of years. The deeper the red, the more iron-rich the stone. Its earliest recorded use dates back to ancient Egypt, where pharaohs carried garnet amulets as symbols of power and protection. In medieval Europe, knights believed garnets would shield them from wounds in battle. But as wars grew bloodier, so did the stone's reputation. Legends spread that garnets didn't just symbolize blood, they demanded it. In some African tribes, warriors would gift crimson garnet to their enemies, believing it cursed them to anger, betrayal, and eventual ruin. In parts of India, garnet mines were said to be protected by spirits who whispered violent thoughts into the hearts of those who sought the stone. Today, fine crimson garnets are pulled from select mines in Mozambique, Sri Lanka, and India. The best specimens feature flawless transparency and a deep, uniform saturation, the kind that seems to glow even in the dark. Master jewelers craft them into blood-red cabochon rings, bold and unflinching, statement necklaces where the garnets burn against yellow gold or blackened platinum, high jewelry earrings, pairing crimson with diamonds for a dangerously elegant contrast. Unlike many fragile gems, garnet is surprisingly durable. With a Mohs hardness of 6.5 to 7.5, it resists daily wear far better than aquamarine or opal. But its durability only adds to its legend. The stone endures, even as tempers do not. On the market, mid-range stones may fetch $50 to $150 per carat. Top-grade, rich crimson garnets can command $500 to $2,000 per carat. Rare collector's pieces, perfectly clean and saturated, may break $10,000 in private auctions. But beyond its monetary value, crimson garnet holds a far darker price. Because unlike most stones that reflect the light of the world, crimson garnet reflects you. And if anger lives inside, it will show you just how deep that fire can burn. But rage is only one face of desire. Beneath it burns a deeper fire, not of anger, but of seduction. In the volcanic depths of Brazil, where sulfur hangs thick in the air, a gemstone glows like frozen drops of temptation. A fire that whispers, not shouts. Top 7. Sulfur Topaz, the flame of sin. Our descent now leads us into the volcanic guts of Brazil, where rivers of fire once flowed beneath the earth's skin and left behind a gemstone that doesn't sparkle. It smolders, not a twinkle, not a dazzle, just a steady flicker of trapped flame, as if sin itself had been crystallized. You won't believe what gives it this dangerous glow. What happens when desire takes solid form? We'll show you in 60 seconds. Buried deep within the scorched earth of Ouro Preto, Brazil, one of the world's most ancient volcanic regions, miners unearth a gemstone that seems to burn from within. Sulfur Topaz. Unlike the common golden yellow topaz often sold in bulk, sulfur topaz glows with an unnerving heat, a rich, honeyed yellow tinged with flickers of orange, like molten resin caught mid-flow. Under sunlight, its fire seems almost alive, radiating a dangerous kind of warmth that draws the eye and holds it captive. Topaz belongs to a class of silicate minerals formed in gas cavities of volcanic rock. Its colors are determined by impurities in its crystal lattice, chromium, vanadium, and in this case, trace elements of sulfur and iron. The sulfur not only deepens the yellow into fiery shades, but, according to local miners, also curses the stone with hunger. Hunger for attention, hunger for more. Legends surrounding sulfur topaz have long whispered of its ties to human desire. In 18th century Brazil, wealthy merchants fought duels over large sulfur topaz crystals, believing whoever owned the brightest stone would control their rivals. In ancient Persia, such stones were called the temptation tears, said to fuel lust, vanity, and ambition beyond control. Some called it the merchant's curse, beautiful to own, dangerous to desire. Even today, gem cutters approach sulfur topaz with caution. While topaz ranks high on the Mohs scale at 8, its perfect cleavage makes it prone to sudden, devastating splits under pressure. A single wrong cut can turn a perfect crystal into worthless shards. The finest sulfur topaz stones are fashioned into large pendant stones, their fire glowing against dark backgrounds. Cocktail rings, where the stone becomes the center of gravity at any event. Collector's museum pieces, where uncut crystals resemble golden flames frozen in time. In the luxury market, commercial quality stones may sell for $20 to $50 per carat. Fine. Deeply saturated sulfur topaz reaches $500 to $1,500 per carat. Large, perfectly cut collector's stones may fetch upwards of $10,000, especially for unheated, untreated pieces. But its true value lies not in price, but in power. Because unlike diamonds which symbolize eternal love, sulfur topaz symbolizes eternal hunger. And hunger once awakened never sleeps. Desire may burn, but beyond desire lies something far more dangerous, the mind itself. For what happens when the voices never stop, when silence is replaced by whispers? Under the silver light of ancient moons, hidden in the hills of Sri Lanka, breathes a stone that doesn't speak, it murmurs. And once you hear it, you cannot unhear. Top 6, Whispering Moonstone, the voice of madness. Top 6, Whispering Moonstone, the voice of madness. Our journey now leaves the fire and descends into moonlit silence, to the hidden mines of Sri Lanka and southern India, where a pale stone breathes under faint silver light, not glittering, not flashing, just a soft, ghostly shimmer, like moonlight trapped beneath glass. You won't believe what moves inside the stone, what happens when the moon itself speaks to your mind. We'll show you in 60 seconds. Hidden in the warm, humid hills of Metyagoda, Sri Lanka, miners unearth something that seems almost too delicate to exist: Whispering Moonstone. Unlike fiery rubies or blazing topaz, moonstone doesn't radiate outward. Instead, it holds its glow within. Under soft light, it comes alive with a ghostly shimmer known as a dulurescence, a soft, floating glow that seems to hover just beneath the surface, sliding as you tilt the stone. The effect isn't sharp or showy, it's quiet, hypnotic, haunting. Geologically, moonstone is a variety of orthoclase feldspar. Its ethereal glow comes from layers of microscopic feldspar crystals stacked inside, scattering incoming light into rolling waves of silver, blue, and pale lavender. The purer and thinner these internal layers, the more mesmerizing the shimmer becomes. But Whispering Moonstone is something even rarer. Within certain pockets of Sri Lanka and parts of India, moonstones form with uncanny clarity, amplifying their internal glow into something unsettling, as if the stone breathes or shifts when you're not looking. Some stones seem to hold a pale eye, following you in dim light. Legends surrounding moonstone date back thousands of years. In ancient Rome, it was believed to be solidified moonlight, fallen from Diana's cloak. In India, mystics spoke of moonstones that whispered prophecies to those who meditated under full moons, but warned that not all voices came from gods. The most dangerous stones, they said, whispered too often, twisting the mind into obsession, insomnia, and eventually madness. The moon calms the body but stirs the mind, one old gem trader told me. Too much moonstone, and the mind keeps spinning, even when you sleep. Whispering moonstones are cut into soft cabochon rings, where the floating glow gently shifts with every movement. Moonlit pendants, often set in silver or platinum to amplify their cool luminescence. Mystic beads, worn by fortune tellers and spiritualists seeking visions. Despite its softness, Mohs 6 to 6.5, moonstone remains popular for its rarity and ethereal beauty, but its fragility requires careful wear, avoiding sharp blows or ultrasonic cleaning. On the market, commercial moonstones, $10 to $50 per carat. High-grade Whispering Moonstone, $300 to $800 per carat. Rare, perfectly centered specimens with vivid blue glow, $1,000 to $5,000 or more, highly prized by collectors. But beyond its price lies its true danger. Whispering Moonstone doesn't shine to dazzle, it shines to lure. And for those who listen too long, its soft voice becomes impossible to silence. Madness weakens the soul, and into that weakness something enters. Something that infects, that spreads, that multiplies like sickness itself. Born in the molten chambers of ancient volcanoes, this gemstone gleams not with life, but with contamination. Its glow is seductive, its cost is corruption. Top 5. Plague Peridot, the disease of desire. Our journey now turns to green fire, to the lava flows of ancient volcanoes, from Hawaii to Pakistan, where a strange olive green stone was born not of earth, but of flame, not dazzling, not blinding, just a sharp, toxic glow, like a poison drop suspended in crystal. You won't believe where this stone truly comes from. What happens when desire mutates into obsession? We'll show you in 60 seconds. In the volcanic guts of Earth, where magma churns miles beneath our feet, one gemstone crystallizes directly from molten rock, Peridot. Unlike most gemstones that form deep within the crust, Peridot, technically a variety of the mineral olivine, is one of the very few that form in the Earth's mantle. Pushed upward by volcanic eruptions, these glowing green crystals are born from liquid fire. While most peridot glows with a pleasant apple or olive green, plague peridot holds a different kind of light, an almost unnatural shade of electric green, tinged with yellow undertones that give it a sickly vibrance. It doesn't simply sparkle, it pulses, like something radioactive frozen inside stone. Its vivid glow comes from high concentrations of iron and trace elements, like chromium and nickel, trapped inside as the crystal cools rapidly near the Earth's surface. In rare cases, these chemical imbalances give rise to the eerie, almost fluorescent glow that earned it the name plague peridot among collectors. The legends attached to it are as unsettling as its color. In medieval Europe, healers once believed peridot could drive away disease, but darker rumors whispered that certain stones didn't cure illness. They caused it. In early Persian writings, plague peridot was feared as the merchant's poison, said to spread misfortune and greed among rival traders who wore it. In some Polynesian island tales, peridot crystals were considered solidified tears of jealous sea gods, and wearing them could bring waves of sudden misfortune. Even today, some gem dealers avoid handling high-grade plague peridot after dark, joking half seriously that it breathes different at night. Despite its ominous history, the stone's beauty is undeniable. Plague peridot is cut into sharp faceted rings, where its electric glow seems to radiate outward. Striking pendants set against black rhodium to heighten its radioactive aura. Collectors' crystals left uncut to showcase the full wildness of its volcanic birth. With a Mohs hardness of 6.5 to 7, peridot is relatively wearable, but prone to chipping if mishandled. Its perfect cleavage means cutters must work with extreme care. One mistake, and a flawless gem can shatter instantly. In today's market, commercial peridot sells for $20 to $50 per carat. High-grade plague peridot ranges from $200 to $800 per carat. The rarest intensely saturated stones may reach $2,000 per carat, highly coveted by avant-garde designers and supernatural collectors alike. But perhaps its greatest danger isn't financial, because plague peridot feeds not on the body, but on the mind. The more you desire it, the more it owns you. When sickness takes over the body, the only place left is the mind's reflection. But what if that reflection doesn't show you the world, but stares back from the void? In the volcanic shadows of Mexico and Armenia lies a mirror so black, so silent, it doesn't reflect light, it consumes it. This is where the void watches. Top 4. Obsidian Mirror. The void that sees our journey now slips into absolute blackness, to the volcanic hearts of Mexico, Armenia, and Iceland, where molten lava once cooled so suddenly it froze into pure midnight glass. Not shimmering, not glowing, just an endless, lightless void, as if the universe itself had left a window open. You won't believe what hides inside its reflection. What happens when the darkness starts looking back at you? We'll show you in 60 seconds. Born not in pressure but in eruption, obsidian isn't a crystal at all. It's volcanic glass. When lava rich in silica cools rapidly, too quickly for atomic structures to arrange themselves into orderly crystals, obsidian is born, smooth, hard, flawless, and blacker than anything else found in nature. But within this dark family there exists a far rarer, more unsettling variant, obsidian mirror. Unlike common obsidian, which often shows dull, uneven black or snowflake-like inclusions, Obsidian mirror forms in nearly perfect sheets of pure black glass. Its surface doesn't just absorb light, it devours it. Look long enough, and you'll feel it pulling you in, reflecting not just your face, but your thoughts. Throughout history, obsidian mirrors have carried ominous reputations. The ancient Aztecs called them tezcatl, or smoking mirrors. Priests and sorcerers believed they could see into other worlds by gazing into their depths. Some claimed to see visions, others claimed the mirror whispered to them, feeding them secrets they were never meant to know. Even British occultist John Dee, advisor to Queen Elizabeth I, used an obsidian mirror, sourced from Mexico, to attempt contact with angels and spirits. But as many of his followers would whisper, not all voices that answer come from heaven. The legends of obsidian mirror speak of its hunger for consciousness. It does not curse the body like other stones. It turns inward, amplifying fears, anxieties, and darkest desires. Some say prolonged staring triggers scrying hallucinations, visions of futures that never were or might soon be. And for the unstable mind, a pathway into permanent obsession. Gem cutters rarely work obsidian mirror into faceted jewels. Instead, it becomes polished discs and orbs, used for scrying, meditation, or darker rituals. Cabochon rings, minimalist yet unsettling, like wearing a piece of void itself. Museum slabs framed like portals to nothingness. Physically, obsidian is hard but brittle, rating 5 to 5.5 on the Mohs scale. One sharp impact can fracture an entire piece. Handling requires both precision and respect. In today's market, commercial obsidian sells for mere dollars. High-grade obsidian mirror, $100 to $500 for flawless scrying mirrors. Historical ritual pieces, $5,000 or more, sought after by occult collectors and secretive institutions. But no dollar amount can measure its true risk, because once you look into obsidian mirror, the void doesn't blink, it stares back. The mirror was only the doorway. Beyond it lies full surrender. A place where even reflection disappears and the emptiness within becomes infinite. From the deepest fractures of Earth's ancient veins comes a gemstone that doesn't shimmer, it swallows. Not a void you see, a void you feel. Top 3. Void Onyx, the black hole of the soul. Our descent now reaches absolute silence to the deepest pressure chambers of the Earth's crust, where molten silica once cooled not into glass, but into pure, impenetrable black stone. No shimmer, no gleam, just bottomless darkness, as if the void itself took physical form. You won't believe what this stone does to the spirit. What happens when the emptiness inside starts feeding? We'll show you in 60 seconds. Unlike obsidian's brittle volcanic glass, onyx is a fully crystallized chalcedony, layered, structured, and terrifyingly solid. While many know the banded white and black variety, true void onyx abandons all contrast. It is pure, uninterrupted black, dense, absorbing, and unsettlingly quiet. Under light, void onyx doesn't reflect. It consumes. There's no shimmer, no depth cues, no edges for the eye to catch. It simply exists as a solid fragment of nothing. Geologically, void onyx forms over millions of years as silica-rich groundwater deposits microscopic layers of quartz into fractures and voids within basalt flows. In exceedingly rare cases, the formation remains undisturbed, stacking perfectly even layers of pure black without contamination from iron or other minerals. The result is a gemstone that behaves like physical gravity, pulling your gaze inward. And once you're staring, it's almost impossible to look away. Legends surrounding void onyx run darker than almost any other gemstone. In ancient Persia, it was known as the eye that never sleeps. Shamans feared its influence, warning that prolonged contact allowed it to drain vitality, joy, and even willpower. In the Middle Ages, secret orders of alchemists sought void onyx not for beauty, but for meditation, to stare into their fears until their identities unraveled. Even today, some esoteric practitioners claim void onyx serves as a psychic amplifier, not for enlightenment, but for absolute surrender of the self. As one modern mystic whispered to me, Onyx does not curse you, it empties you. Jewelry made from void onyx reflects its sinister simplicity. Polished signet rings, blacker than midnight, worn by power seekers and secret societies. Rosary beads used in both spiritual devotion and darker, hidden rites. Monolithic amulets, carried as symbols of absolute control or absolute submission. Physically, onyx is tough, rating 6.5 to 7 on the Mohs scale, but its perfect layering means it can fracture cleanly if struck along its natural lines. In today's market, commercial onyx, $5 to $50 per piece. True void. Onyx, $500 to $2,000 for flawless, museum-quality cuts. Historical ritual artifacts, $10,000 and beyond, often traded in private, unlisted circles. But no insurance policy covers its psychological cost. Because void onyx isn't just emptiness, it's hunger. And once it begins consuming, it rarely stops. And for those who escape emptiness, one temptation remains: knowledge. The most dangerous hunger of all, not for wealth, not for power, but for absolute understanding. From the ancient mountains of Kashmir and Madagascar rises a sapphire so deep, it holds galaxies inside. It offers answers, but the price is sanity. Top 2. Abyssal Sapphire. The knowledge that devours our journey now descends beyond desire, beyond hunger, into the bottomless well of forbidden knowledge, to ancient pockets of the Earth's crust, in Kashmir, Madagascar, and Montana, where a single blue stone pulses like a frozen piece of the cosmos. Not just glowing, not just shining, but staring back, like an ancient eye that knows far more than it should. You won't believe what this stone reveals. What happens when wisdom outgrows the mind? We'll show you in 60 seconds. Sapphire has always carried a strange nobility. Kings, priests, and prophets once believed its deep blue represented wisdom, purity, and divine favor. But hidden within this family of corundum lies something far more dangerous: abyssal sapphire. Unlike the bright velvet blue sapphires found in jewelry store windows, abyssal sapphire glows with a darker, heavier saturation. A blue so deep it borders on black, like staring into the center of a collapsing star. Hold it under light, and you'll see faint swirls and flashes, as if galaxies were trapped within its crystalline lattice. Geologically, sapphire is crystallized aluminum oxide. Trace amounts of iron and titanium give it its iconic blue hue. But abyssal sapphire forms under extreme geological pressure, far deeper and hotter than most sapphires, allowing dense inclusions of rutile and hematite to swirl inside like cosmic storms. The result isn't just color, it's depth. Depth that some say goes far beyond the physical. Ancient texts are filled with warnings about this stone. In early Tibetan lore, it was called the oracle's eye, believed to grant visions of hidden truths, but at the cost of sanity. In certain medieval alchemy circles, abyssal sapphire was sought not to make kings wise, but to make them mad, drowning their minds in spiraling thoughts they could never escape. Some whispered that these sapphires held the echoes of long-dead gods, voices too vast for human minds to contain. As one modern collector confided to me, it shows you everything. But once you see everything, nothing makes sense anymore. Gem cutters approach abyssal sapphire with reverence. Uncut crystals, kept raw to preserve their living galaxy appearance. Cabochon pendants, polished into perfect domes to enhance their eerie depth. Minimalist rings where the stone seems to hover like a black hole above the hand. Physically, sapphire is almost unmatched for durability. 9 on the Mohs scale, second only to diamond. But no degree of hardness can protect its owner from the stone's psychological gravity. In the modern market, standard sapphires, $100 to $1,000 per carat. Fine abyssal sapphires, $5,000 to $20,000 per carat. Ultra-rare, perfect cosmic specimens, $50,000 and beyond, often traded in quiet, invitation-only auctions. But true collectors know, price isn't the risk. Because abyssal sapphire doesn't just reveal knowledge, it floods you with truth until you drown. We've seen greed. We've seen madness. We've seen hunger, disease, and darkness itself. But beyond all of them lies one stone, the one gemstone that rulers feared more than their enemies, the one that whispers not to the mind, but to the blood. Because at the end of every obsession, at the heart of every empire, there is always blood. And so we arrive at the most dangerous gemstone ever unearthed. Top 1. Blood Ruby, the heart of Bloodlust. Our journey ends where all obsessions eventually lead, to blood, in the war-torn highlands of Burma, in the forbidden mines of Mozambique, in ancient riverbeds once soaked with the sacrifices of kings. Here lies the most dangerous gemstone ever unearthed, not because it blinds, but because it commands. It doesn't shine, it doesn't sparkle, it beats, like a heart, like something alive, still pulsing beneath its crimson surface. You won't believe how many have killed for it. What happens when desire turns fully into bloodlust? We'll show you in 60 seconds. While diamonds glitter with cold perfection and sapphires glow with celestial depth, rubies burn. And among all rubies, none burn more dangerously than blood ruby. This is not the bright, commercial, pink red seen in tourist shops. Blood ruby is darker, deeper. Its red is not fire, it is arterial. Look into it and you see something unsettling. Not color, but life. Geologically, ruby is simply corundum, aluminum oxide like sapphire, but colored by chromium. The chromium distorts the crystal's lattice, producing that rich, seductive red. But when conditions are perfect, when chromium levels spike, iron impurities drop, and the crystal forms undisturbed under crushing pressure, blood ruby is born, a stone so saturated it seems to throb under light. It doesn't reflect light, one Burmese miner told me. It drinks it. The legends surrounding blood ruby are as old as war itself. In ancient Burma, warlords believed these stones contained the spirits of warriors who died in battle. They wore them into combat, believing the stone would demand blood to remain loyal. In medieval India, it was called Ratnaraj, the king of gems. But behind closed doors, priests warned that those who wore blood ruby too long would feel an insatiable hunger for violence and see enemies everywhere. Even today, rumors swirl around the world's largest blood rubies, cursed family lines, disappearing collectors, broken fortunes. Master gem cutters approach blood ruby with both awe and terror. Bold solitaire rings, where the stone becomes the center of all attention and control. Imperial necklaces, worn only by those powerful enough to shoulder their weight. Royal artifacts locked in private vaults, traded behind closed doors for sums no one admits publicly. Physically, ruby is one of nature's toughest gems, ranking 9 on the Mohs scale, second only to diamond. But no tool exists to carve its influence out of the hearts of men. In today's secretive market, fine rubies, $10,000 to $50,000 per carat. Top blood rubies, $100,000 per carat and higher. The rarest unheated pigeon blood royal specimens, priceless. Traded only between kings, billionaires, and shadowed syndicates. But price is not its true danger, because blood ruby doesn't merely symbolize blood. It calls for it. Priceless. Traded only between kings, billionaires, and shadowed syndicates. But price is not its true danger, because blood ruby doesn't merely symbolize blood. It calls for it. And for those who answer, the thirst is never satisfied. We came searching for gemstones, but what we found were not simply crystals, minerals, or jewelry. We found temptations, each one carved by the earth as both treasure and warning. Stones that do not merely reflect light, they reflect us. Greed, rage, madness, disease, emptiness, forbidden knowledge. And at the very end of all desires, blood. These are not just stones of the earth. They are echoes of everything humanity fears within itself. And perhaps they were never meant to be found. The Forbidden 10. Demon stones of the earth. The deeper we dig, the darker it becomes.